dovetail joints. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a tool that allowed you to easily mark a dovetail, like for drawer fronts, etc.? Oh, it'd be fantastic. Oh, I have one. Oh, there it is. Ain't it lovely? Well, this little gadget here, which is a dovetail marking gauge, right? It's a 1 and 8 and a 1 and 5. They're the angles that it's got on there, which is okay, fair enough. That's all right, that's good. But after playing about with the tool, I've realised my tool is no good. Unfortunately. Now, silly mistakes. Let me get something straight, all right? If you're capable of making your own little marking gauge for your dovetails, do that instead. It's easy. In fact, I might make one on this channel, actually. But this thing is fundamentally just wrong. It is. It's just wrong. For a start, it's too thick. A bit like me. Chunky, all right? For its size, it's too thick. And why is that a problem? You can think, oh, it's stronger in it. Strong. It's a problem because the way you have to use it with your pencil, so for instance, you've got that on there like so, and you've got to use that with your pencil. You're going to have to get that pencil right into that corner to get it so it makes the line. Even with this pencil here, I'm about 1/32 or so away from the line. You probably can't see that, I would have thought, but the line is not where I want it to be. Sharpen as much as I like, it still ain't going to be right. So, yes, you could use a marker knife like this one. This is a right-handed marker knife, which I made, and the bevel is on the right-hand side. And that means the back of the actual marking knife itself can go right up against the actual marking gauge. And then I can do my mark. Okay, that's good. But most people don't necessarily have marker knives and stuff like that. And if they do, it'll be a Stanley knife or something, you know, like a box knife, and they'll be pushing that in that corner, for which they're at risk of gouging all the sides of their actual mark and their dovetail gauge. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when, say for instance, you had a piece of wood about this sort of wide here, it was about 70mm wide, just under 3 inches, and you can think to yourself, oh, how many dovetails are going to put in that for that thickness? Well, maybe 2 or 3, maybe. But what happened is your dovetails will land, or the pins of your dovetails will land somewhere near the edge. This is where the problem comes in. When you're, say, for instance, using this dovetail jig, I'm going to do 1 and 5, for instance, and so let's use this pencil here, all right? One side, say, for instance, I'm going to put 2 on here, and I'll start in the middle, and I'll put 1 there like that, 1 there like that. So that becomes my tail socket in this space here. So that space there will have to be removed. I'm obviously winging this. I haven't... not necessarily exactly where I'd put them, all right? But let's say, for instance, that was the socket, all right? And then I'm using my dovetail gauge to mark the other side, wherever it's going to fall. Well, I'm going to have to mark on this side, aren't I, of that gauge, this side of the gauge, which means I'm now floating over the end of my workpiece. In fact, I'll go to, probably about there, which makes it very unstable, very hard to hold it on there. And when you get older and what have you, you've got your carpal tunnel syndrome and what have you, not as dexterous as you used to be, no. And, and it's flopped about all over the place, like everything else on your body. So is your marking, your dovetail marking gauge. So you've got to then put your mark on there, and your risk of actually, as you putting your mark down and moving it again, because you can't get enough grip on there. There's 2 parts of this dovetail marking gauge that I feel are fundamentally wrong. And this is not a sponsored a sponsored video. Sponsored video. No, I just bought the thing. So I thought, that's cheap, I'll have that. On the face of it, I thought it was okay until I started playing about with it. I realised it's fundamentally wrong. This little fence here is a part of the fact that it holds it square to your piece of work. You know, it rests up against the end there, like so. It's too short. If that was longer, you'd be able to hold it on here, for instance, but have your finger on it about here. And it can be as far over as you like then, and you wouldn't have to be worrying about that constantly. I think it's a very awkward thing to use. That's what I think. I think it's awkward. which, if you get a marking gauge of any description, with a dovetail one like this, or any marking gauge, it's got to make life simpler. Otherwise, what is the point? So my recommendation would be, do not buy this thing. I don't think it's really worth it. And if you do, expect to do some titillation to it. Because like I say, it's very, very thick. I believe that should have the chamfer along there, the chamfer along there, and then the markings on the chamfer, instead of that being a square cut at that point. So then when you can get your pencil closer to the edge. As it stands, you can't. And then extending these two the parts of this like little fence on the back here, make it a little bit longer. The quality of it seems okay, and it's red anodised aluminium. You know, it's all right. You know, it's all right like that. You know, and besides, it only cost £5. But at the moment, I wouldn't even spend £5 on it because I wouldn't use it. I'm more likely to use my bevel, which I can set at the same angle as this and just reverse it for either side of the actual dovetails. Now, the other thing I would say is, though, where these things can be good if you're making your own, is if you have a repeated dovetail scenario. Yeah, if you've got a repeated dovetail scenario, not 1, 2, or 3, no, multiples of, well, then you could actually do multiples of your dovetails. You can make it for your workpiece. Say for instance, you're doing small drawer fronts or what have you. You can make a jig up or a gauge that is for the whole thing. So you mark it all at once to save time. So then you basically plonk it on your piece of wood and you've got an end. See what I mean? It's fiddly, isn't it? Put on an end stop on it. You push up against your piece of wood, and then you have all your dovetails will be on there, and you can mark them all at the same time. So sometimes it's a good idea. Not sometimes, a lot of the time actually, to make your own tools, your own gauges, your own jigs, anything that makes your life a little bit easier. Yeah, just like my little marking knife there and various other things I have made in the past and will be making on this channel. So, that's what I think. I think it's shit. Well, have you got one of these little dovetail marking gauges? Do you love it? Do you think I'm just doing it all wrong? Oh, just thought of something else that would help, actually. If you had a piece of sandpaper, like a bit of sandpaper, and cut to the shape of the back, and literally glued that on the back there, not the whole piece, just the tiny little piece, so it's the size of the dovetail, so it doesn't interfere with your pencil line, and then at least that will help you grip your workpiece. That's what I reckon anyway. That's another little idea for you. Anyway, well, yeah, please boot the old like button, because it helps the channel, you know, and maybe subscribe. And little bell icon. Because then you'll get a warm, fuzzy feeling in your pocket. That's a bit freaky, isn't it? Yeah, every time I upload another video. Shouldn't do that. Oh dear. Anyway, it's time for me to go. So do you know what I'm going to say? Toodaloo, you know. Now I've got to walk away over there. Because you're away over there. Oh, crikey, I need a remote. That's what I need. Yeah. Oh dear. So the mod cons to me. Toodaloo.